Welcome to the Women in Wealth podcast, brought to you by Regina McCann-Hess, a certified financial planner with over 2 decades of experience. This show is for professional women who want guidance in working towards their retirement vision in learning, building, planning, striving for your dreams, and putting the work in now so that you can pursue your financial independence. Have you ever heard the term, the early bird gets the worm? Well, it can apply in many different situations, and I think it can also apply to younger adults investing. Hello, I'm Regina McCann-Hess, president of Forge Wealth Management, and welcome to our Women in Wealth series. So I gave it away a little bit, but today we're going to talk about young investors and a guide to building their wealth early. As a young adult, you may be coming out of college, just getting situated. I mean, it's a plethora of stuff coming out at you. You're, quote unquote, adulting now. You got your first big job or your real job, not that all their jobs weren't real, but like your first professional job. You may have your first apartment where you're, for the most part, paying for it. You may now be responsible for your own cell phone, your home car insurance. There's a lot coming at you. And of course, your student loans, which can be overwhelming at times. But then you have to decide, like, oh, goodness, we have all this stuff going on. Do I really have the ability to save and invest? Well, you got to make decisions on that for yourself. But time and time again, when we look at studies for people who do also start saving at that younger age, the results seem to be a lot better than starting at a later date. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And the biggest advantage of that is time in the market, time saving, the ability for your money to make money. And those little, small steps of, just doing something consistently and building up your knowledge as you go and consistent contributions, it can create very good habits that can become lifelong habits for yourself. But it also can create some momentum and help you towards your long-term goals. And you may not even have really long-term goals. Your long-term goal might be, hey, I want to buy a condo or a house in 5 years or so. Well, that's a huge goal, right? But whatever the goal is, you need a way to get there. So, right before you get into a car and take a long trip, you put your GPS on. So this is another way to do that, but for your financial life. So we talk about starting sooner rather than later. There's that early bird getting the worm again. By starting earlier, you're giving your money more chances to grow through compounding. And when your returns earn their own returns, that helps you build more and more contributions towards that long-term growth. So let's talk about starting your investing sooner rather than later. That's where that early bird gets the worm comes in. The earlier you start, the more chances your money has to grow through compounding. And when your returns earn their own returns, that helps all those small contributions make a difference and become more meaningful towards your long-term growth. So let's just take a basic example. You invest $100 and that $100 gives you a 10% return. After 1 year, then you have $110, right? In the second year, you earn another 10% on that $110, and that brings you to $121 because there's that 10 extra dollars from the first year is now also working for you as well. So that is just the basic scenario of compounding. Like your money grows, it earns a little bit of money, and then the next year, the earnings go on top of that. Obviously, we know that the money could also go down in value if you're invested in the stock market, but this is like a theoretical conversation, everyone. So we're going to assume it goes up, and at some point it will come down as well. But the idea is that you begin as soon as possible. And even if you're only able to do small amounts, time and consistency can help you do some of the heavy lifting. And over time, it's kind of becomes like a snowball effect. And that's where it can make a big difference. So let's assume a different example where you're going to put a small monthly amount away and it's going to grow over time. So we're going to start one person at age 25 and the other person at age 35, over their working career. And the person who starts at age 25, now we're assuming $150 per month for both people, and assuming a 7% annual return. Obviously, that's not realistic that every single year is going to be 7%, but we're just doing hypotheticals here. So $150 a month at a 7% return, the person starting at age 25 is going to have an end value of about $396,000. The person saving the same amount and having the same return at the end of their working lifetime is going to have $184,000. Big, big difference. That 10 years of contributions and compounding really gets you off the ground and running. So that's why we kind of hit the table hard on like, hey, start as early as you can, even if it's $150 a month. Every little bit that you can do helps you, and it's your money. So, help yourself, help future you. I talk about it as future you. Your future self will thank you. Here's the other thing. You want to make the saving automatic. So, you want to prioritize what your today's needs are, obviously. And then also what are your wants over time for your spending and your saving, of course. Life will get busy. It is crazy. I blink and 6 months have gone by. It's just insane. So that is going to happen to you because it's just a human concept. Your life gets busy, you pack it full of things, and next thing you know, it's like another calendar year goes by. So what you want to do is one, you want to focus on maybe delaying some, not all, some of your immediate gratification. That's where you're going putting your money towards savings, or also trying to avoid maybe keeping up with the influencers on social media, some of your friends, and because that can quickly like kind of hit your budget pretty hard. But again, there's a balance there. I'm not saying eat cans of tuna fish every single day for your meals, but there's a balance. But where it could help you is to automate it. Basically, having money coming out of your bank account every month, that $150 or more than that if you can afford it, automatically. It's not like where you have to go do anything. If it's on autopilot, it's going to be taken out. You don't have to do anything except make sure you're working and you can afford to do that. And this way, you don't even have to make a conscious thought about it. This can be taken right from your savings or your checking. You can time it for like right after your payday so that the money's there. And when you're looking at your pay stubs, looking at the net amount that you actually bring home, how much do you need for your actual needs, like your basic living expenses, your wants, and your savings. Okay. So you want to, separate all those out. You can use an app, you can, use, paper and pencil, whatever works for you to figure out what your budget is and your savings are, your specific goals. But, there's a lot of apps out there that can help you with that as well. Now, doing all this, obviously, if you're investing in the stock market, like mutual funds, ETFs, anything like that, anything in the stock market, that does not guarantee your money's always going to go up. You are going to have times where you're going to lose money in the stock market. Your statements are going to come in. They're going to be less than they were last month, less than they were a couple months ago. That is part of being in the stock market. You're going to have good days and you're going to have bad days. So there's no guarantees. We're just saying over time, by saving every month and starting early, you're going to do a lot better than somebody, starting a little bit later than yourself. So you want to, figure out what you can afford to save and what you need for your daily living expenses. Now, there's the other thing of, as you're getting further into your career, hopefully there's some bonuses. Hopefully there are some promotions, hopefully, raises, things like that. So I also have something called like the 1/3 rule with that. So it helps you increase your automated savings. And that would be like, hey, 1/3 of the raise goes towards, or bonus goes towards your rainy day savings. Just throw that into the automatic thing, increase your automatic from 150 to 250, whatever the number is. Then the other third goes towards increasing your retirement savings, and we'll get to that in a second, increase your retirement plan contributions. And the third part of the bonus or raise goes towards your spending. Pat yourself on the back, and you can, like, have a little bit more fun. And this also, not does it just help with your savings, it also helps with that lifestyle creep, because it's very, very easy to, every time you get a raise, to just push it into your lifestyle. And the next thing you know, you're living, you're having a really nice lifestyle, but you might be caught up in the day to day, like, oh, I bought this nice car. And at the time I could afford that car payment. Now I'm like, oh gosh, I can't wait till I get paid again, so I feel like I can breathe. So it helps with, kind of avoiding the playing, keep up with the influencers and things like that. When you're kind of separating your pay increases through, 2/3 of it going towards increasing your savings, and only 1/3 goes towards your lifestyle spending. So that's also something that people have found helpful as well. All right. The next thing we want to talk about is taking advantage of your employer benefits. Most employers are going to have some kind of retirement plan. You may have to wait a couple months to participate in it, but it is a very powerful tool for your future. The soonest you can get into that plan, the better. Some companies will let you in pretty quickly. Most will have like a 3-month minimum waiting period, but every plan's a little bit different. So ask the HR people when you're getting onboarded. But minimally, what you should contribute is whatever their match is. So if they're saying, hey, our match is 4%, that's minimally what you should be putting in. Because if you say, well, I'm only going to put 2% in, well, no, I'll do different numbers. I'm only going to put 1% of my salary in. Okay, well, then you're giving up 3% of the match, because they only have to match up to the 4% of what you put in. So if you only put in 1%, they only have to match 1%. So you're giving up what I call free money. So if their match is 4% and you put in 4%, you get your 4% and their 4%. That gives you 8%. We love easy math here. That is huge, 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 as a starting point. That is not where you want to end up. That is your starting point. Obviously, if you can afford more than 4%, I'm all about that. Get as much in that 401k or retirement plan as you possibly can. Some people, there's some kind of report that says the average savings for a long-term goal is about 17% of your income for retirement. Now, really, it goes by dollar amounts that will max out on the plans per tax year. Each tax year, they could be a little bit different. But what you want to do is get as close to those numbers as possible. Again, this is all of your money, regardless of, if you're there for 1 year or 10 years. Whatever you put into the plan is your money. If you leave, you can bring that money with you to your next retirement plan or roll it to an IRA. Nobody can take that away from you. The match, however, the company can say, oh, well, that has to, you have to be here for 3 years for that to be vested. 3 years goes by pretty quickly. If you're there for 3 years and then you leave, you take the match as well. But anything that you put in from your own paycheck is always your money. I think sometimes people get a little worried about, well, if I leave, they're going to keep my money. No, they can keep the match if you haven't been there long enough, but most people usually stay long enough to get the match. So that's another really, really powerful benefit. I can't pound the table enough on that one. And you're going to have a choice between traditional and Roth. And you know how much I love the Roth, because, while you don't get a tax break now, you pay the tax bill essentially right now, and then that money grows tax deferred. And then when you take it out in retirement, tax-free income, very, very yummy. But you just got to figure out what's right for you. Obviously, you want to talk to your financial advisor, your tax person. Your tax person's probably going to be like, well, you want to get a little bit of deduction for today because, they want you to save some tax dollars today. So you could consider part traditional, part Roth. Definitely talk to your person about that. See what's right for you, but do something. Definitely do the retirement plan as soon as you can get into it. The other thing that you want to consider are the HSA plans, the health savings accounts. Those are very powerful depending on, where you are in life and what your situation is. They can be a good savings tool. Sometimes companies have a stock purchase program where you can, buy the company stock at a discount. Sometimes I think it's like around 15% discount. So you're kind of buying it on sale already. And that also can be an automatic program where it's like a certain dollar amount, certain percentage every single paycheck. So that would be a good thing to do as well. And look at what else they offer you. Some people may get bonuses in what they call restricted stock units, or some other types of stock units that are available to them. And those are usually kind of a bonus program, a way for the company to bonus you, but yet keep you tied to the company. Either way, those are great things to have, way to build your wealth and a way to just build towards your financial goals. Speaking of building, you also want to build your financial knowledge. Sadly, colleges, high schools, most schools do not offer basic financial acumen. Like, they offer nothing unless you are a finance major. If you're a finance major, it's a little bit different. But if you're not a finance major, they don't even offer or make you take, like, hey, here's how to balance your checkbook if you even have a checkbook anymore. But here's how, you should pay your bills and, keep some for yourself. And one of the things I always say is it's not just about what you're making, it's about what you're keeping. So, log into some podcasts. There's a lot of great podcasts out there. You can go from beginner, intermediate to advanced. Start with beginner, get the basics. There's a lot of books out there. There's online courses. There's financial blogs. There's plenty of ways to learn about investing and saving towards your goals. So those can also be very helpful. But also know that it's a lifelong process. You're a young adult. You've never learned anything about, investments and financial stuff. It's going to take you some time to get the knowledge and to be comfortable with it. So don't think it's going to be like overnight where you're going to get everything right away. It's going to take a while and have to have it repeatedly told to you through these, podcasts or whatever the sources are for your information. But just keep at it. And as you build your knowledge, you're also going to build your confidence and you feel a lot better about it. Guess what? You're also going to make mistakes along the way. That is normal. We learn a lot from our mistakes. So don't be afraid to make the mistake as long as you learn from it. And you, of course, avoid the similar mistake going on down the line. So we're talking about building wealth. It's also about creating more freedom, some opportunity in your own life. Making the decisions to take action today may help put you in a better position in the future. You don't need it to be perfect or have all the answers. You just need to get started. You need to keep learning. You need to celebrate your progress along the way. And, kind of another way to say that, it's about progress, not perfection. That is something that will never come, no perfection, even though we keep thinking it will. But these are great ways to get started in, adulting as a young adult out of college and early in their careers. And I really hope that they help you. So I would say our action item today is minimally, if you're just starting out, think of a dollar amount every month that you can put away, whether or not it just goes into a separate savings account or if it goes into some kind of investment account, something that you're putting away every single month for you, for your future. Do that and talk to your financial advisor if you have one, and do the right thing for you to help future you. All right. And with that, I thank you for being here today. Again, I'm Regina McCann-Hess, president of Forge Wealth Management. My website is forgewealth.com. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Forge Wealth, LinkedIn, Regina McCann-Hess. Go make it a great day. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Women in Wealth podcast. You can watch the founder's video I created for you to learn more about me and how I can guide you towards your financial independence at www.forgewealth.com. The information in this podcast is educational and general in nature and does not take into consideration the listener's personal circumstances. Therefore, it is not intended to be a substitute for specific individualized financial, legal, or tax advice. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a final decision. Securities are offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA, and SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and Forge Wealth Management are separate entities from the LPL Financial. Our show guests and their companies are not affiliated with nor endorsed by LPL Financial, Private Advisor Group, or Forge Wealth Management.